Look, it's Tower of Tickets. The machine is clearly the tower, and there's the tickets in it. That's it, that's the whole game. Join me next time when I talk about Box of Balls. Like most of these Redemption arcade games, the exact release date isn't well documented. The manual I found was uploaded in 2015, and so is most of the earliest available footage. One outlier from this is a video uploaded in early 2015. This looks like some sort of prototype version. They were still trying to figure out how to label this game. In this screenshot from the video, they're calling it a skilled coin pusher. I am aware that this game involves pushing, but coin pusher? My bad, guys, I should have included this in the last video. It seems like this game was started by Elout, but manufacturing rights are also given to Baytech Games. Both of these companies have separate promo material. That one I just showed was from Elout, while a Baytech video released later that year had a more accurate description for this game. With Elout, Tower of Tickets is listed as a retired game if you visit their Old Timers and Discontinued Games page. On Baytech's website, it's still actively listed as of making this video. There is also a movie licensed version of this game. It drops the name Tower of Tickets and is simply called Trolls. I've never played this version, but it looks like the same thing, but with more troll hair. So basically, this game is a rotating carousel covered in ticket rolls, and you need to use your arm to knock them into a win spot. Sounds familiar, yeah? Kinda like... We're going to be comparing these two games quite a bit. With Tower of Tickets, your arm sweeps right, while the Zombie Snatcher arm sweeps left. Even the arm speeds feel different. The Tower of Tickets arm moves with what feels like exponential speed, whereas the zombie arm moves at a constant speed. One thing that really differentiates this from the zombie game is how the win spots work. As far as I'm aware, there are two versions I came across with different styles for scoring the towers. There's this version where you knock the ticket rolls into a hole. This requires you to retrieve the tower and bring it to a prize center at your arcade, similar to how you would cash in cards from a card collecting arcade game. But on what I'm assuming is a more popular version of this game, you are trying to knock the towers onto these scoring platforms. When you get the tower to board the platform, it counts your tickets and then releases the tower back onto the board. With strategy, there really isn't much to say here. You just need to burn a few credits on plays to figure out the timing to consistently win on this. The timing that works well on each cabinet I've played on was to watch the win spot to your right and hit the button once the ticket roll you're targeting has crossed a little over the halfway point of that win spot. This timing feels consistent when going for the rolls closer to the win spot. I think you need to adjust the timing when going for a tower that is closer to the center of the carousel, but I would generally avoid playing for any ticket rolls closer to the center. If an important one is close to the center, you may need to burn a play to reposition it. I know on Zombie Snatcher, different arms can have different motor speeds, but to be safe, I would recommend always playing on the same arm to avoid any timing issues that can arise from natural wear and tear. The payouts for this game are interesting, because unlike most arcade games we've talked about, this one doesn't have payout rates or jackpots programmed into the game. It's thankfully a very transparent game. You don't need to work around weird payouts, just look inside and see what the carousel has to offer. These ticket rolls are purchased by the arcade with pre-made values on how many tickets they should issue, so the arcade can choose what values they're okay with people playing for. Like any other game, use your judgment to decide if this one is worth playing at your arcade. Oh, and there's also mercy tickets. The ones I played on for this video were either giving me 5 or 10 tickets every time I missed. I didn't see a value range for this in the manual I read, but these are not important. The real mercy tickets happen when you accidentally shove a lower value ticket roll into the win spot. I really like this game. It's not really fun from a gameplay sense, but for ticket farming, this one feels really good. If you're playing on the version with a scoring hole, all you need to do is take the high value rolls and move on to other games. If you're playing on the scoring platform version, I would still just move on to another game after winning a high value roll. I don't really want to linger while it sits on the platform and counts. This is also going to depend on how many high value rolls are on the board. If the best roll is being counted for tickets, you'd probably want to wait for that to return to the board before playing again. I also feel like the scoring hole version is slightly easier to win than the platform version. I say this because the hole version is significantly less crowded. When aiming for a ticket roll that is stuck in a crowd, the extra rolls on the board will usually be detrimental to your lineup, but sometimes the garbage rolls can actually help you. I do appreciate that the platform version returns the ticket rolls back to the carousel, so you always have the option to play again if you want to. I find this usually returns it to a favorable spot, making it easier to win on the next play. Okay, this really shouldn't surprise anyone. This game's going to S tier. The real puzzler is where do we want to put it in S? Before placing it somewhere within S, we should compare it to Zombie Snatcher one more time. Both of these games are just skill-based, and they usually follow the average jackpot amount of the arcade. But the Tower of Tickets game, that one usually has higher value rolls than the highest value zombie pucks. And yeah, I know there's an older Zombie Snatcher version with letter pucks and higher values, but I haven't played that one very much, so I don't have an opinion on it. But Zombie Snatcher does have the bonus when you spell Kong on the board, and the bonus combined with the pucks will make it pay more than a high value ticket roll. Because the zombie bonus is a rotational payout, I will say that from a consistency standpoint alone, Tower of Tickets is a far better game. But whichever game is better is going to be circumstantial to the arcade's game pricing and jackpot economy. Another factor would be how busy the arcade is. Zombie Snatcher requires more casual players to be optimal, whereas I'd rather have a Tower of Tickets game with less people on it, especially if it's the scoring hole version. Personally, I don't really like comparing them like this because I approach these games very differently. I look at Zombie Snatcher like a rotational payout game, while Tower of Tickets with the scoring platform is more like a consistent game that can be played like Power Roll or Pop the Lock. You can like both games, they aren't mutually exclusive. But the more I'm thinking about it, I've never been to an arcade that has both of these, so maybe they are mutually exclusive. Okay, so this game, honestly, it feels like a contender for the #1 spot. No weird rotational payouts, it's just you and your timing skills. It's a crazy fast jackpot once you figure out the timing. But if you are playing on the whole version, the game is basically done for the day after someone takes the high value rolls. But on the platform version, you can grab it a couple times during an arcade visit. I'd still maintain that both versions are good, but the scoring platform one is obviously better. I still think Lock stays on top. I'll give this one a close second place for now. Even if one game has a higher jackpot value than another, there's a good chance the price to play will be adjusted in accordance with this fact. So the pricing and jackpot amounts break even for me on this comparison, but from my personal bias on playstyle, I feel like hitting 50 in a row is easier to accomplish than perfecting this narrow timing. Again, this list is just my opinion I've formed from trying to play these games at various different arcades. There is a lot more to it than this. You may feel like my placements here are arbitrary, but there is a list of criteria I made back at the start of this channel that dictates where the games go on my list. There will be a future video that explains the method behind this madness, and I will adjust some of my changed opinions. But we should cover a few more game requests before that happens.